All right, let's move on to the wide receivers. And my goodness, Jamison Williams, John Mechie, and of course, Slade Bolden move on to the NFL. And the amount of production is crazy good, especially for the first two. All right, we got a sampling during games down this stretch when it was either Jamison Williams having to leave the game because of a targeting call. And then, of course, later in the national championship game, he is taken out. John Mechie misses the playoffs. That we saw certain members of this highly talented backup wave step in and maybe not quite hit the target in regards to what's expected of an Alabama wide receiver. Your thoughts about how these guys will battle starting in the spring?
This is going to be probably the most intriguing room here, Mark, and it's because who develops that chemistry, that flow with Bryce Young? Who becomes that guy or group of guys that Bryce can trust out of this group? Because now these are all guys that either came in with Bryce or they came in a class or a couple of classes after Bryce. Bryce inherited a John Mechie. He inherited a Slade Bolden. He was blessed to get a Jamison Williams from the transfer portal. But now these are all guys that all came with him or came a class or two after him. So this becomes a very intriguing group here because, like you mentioned, you bring back a Ja'Corey Brooks. And here's a guy that was one of those guys that had to step up when a John Mechie went down, when a Jamison Williams went down. And Ja'Corey Brooks, we saw he made the big catch against Auburn in the Iron Bowl to tie the game at 10 and force the crazy 4 overtimes. And Alabama won the game by 2 at Jordan Hare. Ja'Corey Brooks also had a big touchdown in the Cotton Bowl against Cincinnati. So he's made some big plays. He's had some drops, but he's made some big plays also. Then you look at a J.I. Hall, who exploded in the spring game last year, and folks going, oh my gosh, this guy needs to start, when he had the 4 catches for 72 yards at Bryant-Denny. But it did not materialize into the regular season, of course. And we've seen where Coach Saban mentioned, he had to get some things squared away, off the field and becoming that player and that individual off the field that he needs to be. Well, late in the 2021 campaign, Hall got better with that. And you saw where he was rewarded with some playing time in the national championship game, but wasn't quite ready for the moment just then. And he admitted to that on social media. He did. So now it comes back to how much has that moment grew him in terms of the maturity of understanding, okay, I had that moment. I wasn't quite ready for that moment. Now I'm ready to become the receiver that I need to be in terms of having that chemistry and that flow with Bryce Young. So there's a J.I. Hall. Then you have guys like Christian Leary and JoJo Earl, 2 really good slot guys. Christian Leary a bit faster than Earl more quick than fast. But now you have an Aaron Anderson as a freshman in here from Louisiana, a complete track burner and a guy that can create that separation. And as you know as well as I do, Mark, speed kills in college football. And we saw that in the national championship game. When Jamison Williams went down, Kirby Smart was like, okay, they don't have anybody else that can do what number 1 does. So we can now lock up these receivers, take them out their element, bring pressure to Bryce Young, because Alabama does not have that guy like a Jamison Williams that can burn a defense and that can dictate how a defense should play Alabama, that can change the entire paradigm of a football game on the field with his speed. So Aaron Anderson, a freshman, has that type of acceleration that can change the whole paradigm on the field. So spring ball between Anderson, Earl, Christian Leary, that's going to be fun. Who wins the slot? Who commands that type of attention from the slot that Jamison Williams did just a season ago? And then you have guys like Trayshawn Holden, who came in with Bryce Young from California, roommates with Bryce Young. Does that finally click? Does that roommate magic between Bryce and Holden finally click with each other? That's going to be a fun developing story there. And then Jermaine Burton, having him come in from Georgia via the transfer portal. How does this look like? Does he play at the top of the formation? Is he at the bottom? What's that relationship like between he and Young? So I look at this group of receivers right here, Mark. It's which guy or which group of guys quickly hits it off with Bryce Young, and the reigning Heisman Trophy winner feels like, I can trust this particular person. That's what that's going to come down to.
Fascinating. Fascinating at the wide receiver position, no doubt, because as you say, Jermaine Burton comes in. He wasn't like a number one guy off the charts, like a Jameson Williams, Jerry Jeudy kind of guy, but certainly proved productive consistently for a championship caliber team. So he's not accustomed to the big stage and the big moments. And then you've got this host of players that at times you saw that spark, you saw that glimpse of what they could be, but then we saw the disappointments with a couple just enormous drops in the national championship game where Bryce Young just placed it on a dime and it didn't get done there in the fourth quarter. So it will be fascinating. Jaleel Billingsley moves on to Texas. He's now a Longhorn. Cameron Latu's coming off an 8-touchdown, 26-reception season. So it all starts with him, we know, but kind of size up the tight end room.
Well, right now it starts with Latu, but behind him, you've got Robbie Oots, who came in the 2021 class. And Oots is he's more so of a blocker than a pass catcher. He can catch the football. He can run routes, but he's more so known for his blocking. We saw this last season prior to an injury. Alabama brought him in on those goal line situations, and Oots would just pancake guys to the ground. And Saban really enjoys when you're not getting the ball. How engaged are you? And you saw a very engaged Robbie Oots in that fullback, H-back role in goal line situations prior to the injury. So having Oots back healthy will be fun to watch there as he tries to be that complement for Latu. But Alabama also signed 3 talented tight ends in this 2022 class. One of them an early enrollee in Elijah Brown out of Ohio. And Mr. Brown at 6'5", 230, body type of some recent Alabama tight ends. We discussed the O.J. Howards and the Irv Smiths of the world. And he's also really good route runner, really good hands, can get up and down the field quickly. And he's a big playmaker waiting to happen. He can block well also. But Elijah Brown, big playmaker waiting to happen. So with him being an early enrollee, a mid-year guy competing here in spring ball, he has a chance to maybe, could he pass up a Robbie Oots and maybe he's the complement to Cameron Latu. That'll be interesting to watch there. But in the summer, Mark, you have 2 more guys coming in, and those 2 would be Amari Niblack and Danny Lewis Jr. Niblack fits the mold of Jaleel Billingsley, probably a bit thicker than Billingsley was, but the route runner, the hybrid type of tight end, Niblack gives you that in spades. And then Danny Lewis Jr., Coach Saban spoke the Wednesday during the traditional signing period. He said that how excited Alabama was to land him. And when Coach Saban gets excited about landing a tight end to close the recruiting cycle, you might want to do some digging on that particular tight end. And Danny Lewis Jr., he can get it done. He can get up and down the field. He can go 0 to 100 quickly and the route running ability. So you got 3 tight ends that you signed along with Robbie Oots back with Cameron Latu. But this spring, got to keep my eyes on Oots and early enrollee Elijah Brown. Which one of those 2 early can kind of become that complement there to Latu, who does return with 8 touchdowns from last season?
We don't expect to see Nick Saban dancing with Danny Lewis on social media anytime soon. That privilege, of course, afforded to Brian Kelly, who was not able to land the young man. So Saban got the business end of the deal done and was able to bring in one Danny Lewis. So we'll be looking out for him because, yes, if Nick Saban was that excited about bringing in the tight end, yes, there might be a good future for him.